Well, welcome to the Hamilton County Coaches Show. I'm Perry Williams, alongside is Westfield head football coach Jake Gilbert. Welcome, Coach.
Hi, Perry. Good to have you back.
Well, Coach, the one thing about it, you're on the road for the last 2 weeks, and hopefully nobody left the stands before the end of both games, because both of them have been very, very close. So let's talk. You went to Zionsville. They always have a good crowd there, and you've been around for a while, so you know what it's like to go on the road in the Hoosier Crossroad Conference. But let's talk a little bit about that ball game and some of the good, bad, and ugly, I guess.
Yeah. Well, hey, good teams win close games, so we're not going to complain or apologize for being 3-0. I think there's a lot of good in that. Our teams have been down 2 scores in the second half 2 weeks in a row and found a way to come back and win. So that takes a ton of grit and toughness and resolve, and so I'm pretty happy about that. The games have been very, very different. This past week, we got a takeaway right off the bat, scored so easy that I just think there was a little bit of a letdown, and we followed that up with a pick 6. So we gave Zionsville 7 points to put them right back in the game. As the game progressed, we had 2 other turnovers, and then we had the ball in our hands on defense. Our opportunities for easy takeaways probably another 3 times, and we got 0 of the 3. So where we had a chance to swing that, we did not, and instead we struggled until the end of the game. We finally got a strip sack on the quarterback, and that put us in great position. We marched down. I chose for a 4th and 1 play from the 1-yard line to go for it, to try to make it an 8-point game. I felt like that could give us a lot of security. Instead, we got stuffed. We stopped Zionsville, though, and got an interception that would have sealed the game, but we late hit the quarterback. So we gave them new life, and as often happens, that came back to bite us in the butt, and we watched them march down the field and get into great field goal position. But we made a couple plays again, and we got a sack, and we forced a fumble, but we didn't come up with the fumble, unfortunately, but it did push them back and made it a very long field goal at least. So they kicked a field goal at the end of regulation. It was wide right, had plenty of distance, even though it was from about 54 yards, and we survived. And so happy to be 3-0 and 1-0 in the HCC. And maybe we're better to be lucky than good, whatever you want to say. I'm just happy with where we're at.
Yeah, well, and the one thing about it is, talk a little bit about, because, the one thing about it with these last 2 games being very close situations, but we've talked about this many times about, this program of making this a winning program.
Yep.
And your young men who play football here at Westfield have been successful.
Sure, yeah, the expectations have been pretty good. The last 3 years and this season, we've obviously won quite a bit, like 33-8 or something like that, or with some championships in there. So our guys are doing a nice job finding ways to win. And I do think we have great poise during the games. I feel like there's no panic. We expect to win, and just don't know what it'll look like. But I think our guys don't get panicky. We just we do a pretty good job staying in the present here, Perry.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, Coach, after 2 road games, you come back home, which this is it's always great to come back home.
Yeah,
and
finally. I feel like we haven't been home hardly at all.
Yeah, so this is a good atmosphere here, and we hear all the time how the atmosphere with the fans and your student body and your team, how great it is, and of course the facility you have here is second to none. So you're very, very blessed. You've come a long ways from that old football field you had. That old 1A football you had.
Good old days, yeah.
So
goat pasture.
Yeah. So, but I know it's exciting for you, and I'm sure for the kids to be back home.
Yeah, we're ready for a home game. Just the energy surrounding the home game is so much fun, and I think we need a little of that right now. So feel like we've been on the road a lot for whatever reason, and it'll be great to be back on Friday and experience a home game and get to play in front of our student section, home crowd, and band, and all that stuff. We're ready for that.
Yeah, and of course this is another Hoosier Crossroad Conference, and then of course Midland Trophy is at stake here, which
Yep.
Westfield is 18-6 with the Millers. You won 18 and lost 6, and so it's
been fortunate. We got to fight for it. I think against Zionsville, who's our other rival, we've won 11 in a row, and Noblesville 4. But Noblesville's beaten us a couple times. So believe me, they could have easily beat us last year.
Yeah.
We won against them by 1 point last year, and so I don't think we have to worry too much about them having our attention. I think they're a good football team. They've got those 3 senior backs. Schaffner's obviously one of the better players in Indiana. They got a huge left tackle. I've been impressed with the senior quarterback, to be honest. I think he's done a good job. Brewer's a Division I talent.
Whatever he wants to be,
right,
yeah, really.
Receiver, tight end. He is.
Or he's pretty good on the basketball floor too. So
I think he's an amazing player.
Yeah.
And then, defensively, they just have so many returners. I feel like they've got several guys who have started 2 and 3 years, and they're fast. I mean, if you watch Noblesville on track, a lot of those guys are football guys out there in their sprints. And I think they're legit fast. So we're ready for the challenge. I think it's going to be another tough one, and we need to have a great week of practice. And these guys are so challenging to prepare for. It's never a real fun week of practice, but we're going to do our best to be ready and more prepared than in the past.
the one thing about it is they got kind of a new wrinkle now is they run some spread to go along with that wing tee, and I know the offense they've run the last 3 years have been, you don't see it all the time, so
Right.
it's hard to simulate it a little bit, and now they're throwing in that wing tee. Is your plan any different?
Yeah, it just kind of forces your hand a little more with personnel. So if they're going to run their T formation and you want to have 5 or 6 D linemen in there to try to hold up front against their offensive line, well, that can be a good plan. But if then with those same people in the game, they can break out and have some kind of trips or empty formation and throw the ball, well, now you may be in trouble if you have 60 linemen in there. So you just really have to be careful about who you have in the game. Make sure they can defend all these things. I mean, so the T, it just forces so much discipline and so much physical play. It's hard to not practice that every snap. But obviously, Noblesville gives you enough other things to prepare for that you better be ready for that. And then, I'm sure Coach Sharp will have a new formation wrinkle for us when we see him Friday night that we haven't prepared for.
Yeah, because the one thing about it, and I saw the comment in the Indy Star that Coach Funk mentioned was, even though the Millers didn't score in that first series, they went to the spread, okay? And it kind of caught them off guard a little bit as far as them going to the spread, because actually even Schaffner dropped a pass.
Yeah.
So, it could have, they could have put points on the board there and they didn't. I think the big difference is in the third down percentage of Noblesville was 1 for 9, and I think Fisher's was 9 for 11 on third down.
Fisher's is pretty good.
Yeah, they're really good.
We don't see those guys for a while, but they clearly, in that film, I was just like, whoa, this is a good football team that beat Noblesville. So I think it'll be a great battle. Noblesville scored a bunch of points on us last year, and we've given up a lot of points this year. So, I mean, is our defense ready to step up or not? That's what this is going to be about.
Yeah, I think the amazing thing that I take away when we look around the Hoosier Crossroad Conference, and you mentioned Jake Baker, the quarterback for the Millers in his first year, you've got a quarterback in your son Jackson.
Yep.
It's his first year. Okay, same way down at Fisher's with their quarterback. He played defense last year, so it kind of shows us that if you've been brought up through the system and you're a fairly good athlete, you can step in there and get the job done because
Well,
you understand the system.
competitive teams, so they have competitive practices, and so even though like our guy Jackson, it's his first year, but goodness, he's practiced against our defense
Yeah.
the last 2 years, and so and then when you play in JV, you go against these same teams, and they have good JV teams too, and so in terms of getting prepared, I do think where we play helps, and the conference and all those things helps these young guys be a little ready. Now, there's nothing quite like Friday Night Lights,
No.
but once you get that out of your system and expect to be out there, you generally do a little better there too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking time out to do the broadcast here today. I know that we got everyone has to take in the Hoosier Conference has to take one game at a time, and this is a big one this week with Noblesville. So best of luck to you and your team on Friday night.
Appreciate that. I'm just trying to stay humble and hungry, and we'll be ready Friday.
All right, thanks a lot,
Thanks,
Coach. I
Barry.
appreciate it.
All right, go Rocks.